Hi everyone, my name is Evan. I'm one of the ministers at St Mary's Anglican Church, and today, for Psalm a Day, we're looking at Psalm 59. Now, if you haven't read the psalm, go and do that first, because I'm just going to dive straight into it. Well, when we read the psalm, we see that it's a psalm of lament, which means that it's a psalm crying out to God for help, for protection, in this case, for deliverance. Verse 1, "Deliver me from my enemies, O God." Um, but the way that the psalmist talks about his enemies and talks to God about them, naming them, makes this psalm quite specific and interesting. Namely, that the psalmist refers to his enemies as dogs. So look in verse 6 and in verse 14. Now, personally, I don't mind dogs. I quite like dogs. I have a dog. Um, but the insult that's coming behind here are animals, are creatures that crawl, that walk around and look for something to attack, look for something to eat, that hunt in packs, and they don't really care what they come across. So the imagery they have is not of a domesticated nice dog, but of a wild dog, a rabid dog. And in back in in medieval times, packs of wild dogs were more dangerous than packs of wolves. Even though the wolves were smarter and a bit stronger, the wild dogs were ravenous and rabid and would just go for anything. And they would attack anything and any sort of traveller or anything like that. Where the wolves would be a bit more picky or choosy about what they want. And so the dogs, they attack particularly the psalmist here and the psalmist's people. Now, this imagery of dogs doesn't just stay here in the Old Testament; it goes into the New Testament as well. And in Philippians, Paul refers to the enemies of the gospel as dogs they are mutilators of the flesh in Philippians 3. And in Revelation, the opponents of the righteous people are also called dogs. The dogs, those who practice magic arts, the sexually immoral, the murderers, the idolaters, and everyone who loves and practices falsehood in Revelation 22. And so there's this image of those who are enemies to God and enemies to his servants as ravenous animals that have no master. Now, the psalmist back in Psalm 59 asks for deliverance from these dogs, but he says something very peculiar. Come with me down to verse 11. But don't kill them, my Lord, our shield, or my people will never forget. In your might, make them wander about and bring them down. For the sins of their mouths and the words of their lips, let them be caught in their pride, for their curses and lies they utter. So the psalmist asks for deliverance from the enemies of his people, yes, but then he says, but don't kill them though. Just hold off a little bit. Why? Well, so that my people don't forget you. So that my people don't forget who you are and what you do for us. So that my people don't forget your faithfulness. And so they don't forget the dangers that you protect us from. And it's quite interesting that he'd pray something like this, isn't it? That God would deliver him, but not too much. And perhaps maybe there's a lesson in that for the way that we live our lives and ask for things as well. Yes, we ask that God will give us our daily bread, but not too much that we'd forget who we are. And that he would provide us with everything we need, but not too much that we would look to the world as our God. And that was when Maddie and I got married. That was part of the prayer that my then minister had and boss actually had for us, that God would bless us, but not too much that we would forget Him, but also enough that we would continue to rely on Him, and that He would keep us close to each other, not too much. But He also said it about the troubles and worries in our lives, to give us troubles, just enough to keep us dependent on God and praying to Him and loving Him. And we might think that that's a bit of a strange thing to pray. But the psalmist has has the relationship of his God and his people in his heart. And so we might judge that. But it's here. And perhaps there is something that we can learn from it. Finally, I just want to make a final note on how the psalmist refers to God. He refers to him a number of ways. We read God, my shield, in verse 11. Verse 1, protector. Verse 9, my strength. And then verse 9 and verse 17, my fortress. And verse 16, my fortress. God is my fortress. Particularly, let me read out this bit. But I will sing of your strength in the morning, and I will sing of your love, for you are my fortress, my refuge in times of trouble. And what has been your refuge in this time of trouble? Where have you gone to for solace and for protection? Who have you gone to? God, of course, is the ultimate fortress. He is untouched by coronavirus. He's untouched by finances. He is untouched by evil and things happening in this world. He is the ultimate fortress. And so if we want stability, if we want protection, and if we want a place to hide ourselves, we hide ourselves in God. And of course, we think of that song, Rock of Ages, cleft for me. Hide me now, my refuge be. Is God your refuge? Grace and peace to you.